Have you ever noticed that the moment your life finally gets easy, like things are working, nothing is wrong, and you start looking for a problem? Maybe you pick a fight with your partner over something small, or you refresh your email 10 times looking for a crisis just to feel that familiar pinch of stress. You spent years learning why you do this, but you're still doing it. This is not self sabotage, and obviously, you're not broken. Your system is just more familiar with chaos than it is with calm. And I'm jumping here today. We're going to talk about why your nervous system is actually used to chaos, why your awareness hasn't been enough to fix it, and how we finally stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I'm jumping in because I see this in my coaching container and also with people around me. But before we dive into the episode, I just want to remind you that I'm hosting a live workshop called Step into Alignment on Wednesday, April 22 at noon Eastern Standard Time. This is a dedicated space where we're going to use the Align framework, my Align framework that I designed, to identify what's actually pulling you off course and how to create that internal safety you need to move forward. The link to sign up is right in the show notes, and just know that if you're ready to actually change this, not just understand it, right? You don't need more understanding of it. This is the room for that, and I will love to see you there. Okay, friend, let's get started with the episode. Hello, friend. Welcome back to Rewired to Align. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Michelle Marie, and I am here every week with you. Ready to speak about alignment, that coherence between your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions to create a life that is true to your authentic self. And before we move forward, you know that I like to remind you the episode number and the category so that you can look it up in the episode catalog, which is in the show notes. And this is episode 73, and it will be under the alignment category. If you are here for the first time, welcome, beautiful soul. I hope you stay and you can share this podcast with others, with your family, with your friends, with your loved one, and that everything here serves in your journey to alignment. Welcome, welcome, and thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, let's get to it. Today I'm jumping here because I have noticed that there is a lot of focus out there in social media and in other channels, actually in the conversations that I'm having, and the focus is on awareness. There's a lot of focus on awareness and understanding your patterns, knowing where they come from, being able to see yourself in real time. And my friend, that's great. That is super important. We really have to be aware, and that is actually the first step. And it's actually the first step in my Align framework. But it is not where change happens. And what I've been noticing in my coaching is that a lot of women are stopping there. They are aware, they can explain everything, they know exactly why they do what they do, but their lives aren't actually changing. They're still reacting the same way, they are still looping and still going back to the same patterns. And the reason is something most people don't realize. You're using your awareness as a shield instead of a solution. Again, you're using your awareness as a shield instead of a solution. And what I mean by that is that You can see the pattern, you can explain it, and you can understand it. And that gives you a sense of control, right? You feel good because you're actually aware. It's like a light bulb, right? Came up. But you're still reacting the same way in real life. So nothing has actually changed. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about what actually happens after awareness. What's the process also that I take my clients through so they can overcome this? We're going to look at what it really means to let go of a pattern, why that process doesn't always work the way you think it does, and what it actually takes to live differently in your real everyday moments. Because that is the part where most people get stuck, friend, and I don't want you to get stuck there. Imagine you're in a moment where everything is actually fine. Your relationship is good, your business is working. If you work for somebody else, everything is going terrific, your kids are good, everything is good. There's no real problem. And then something small happens, a tone, a delay in a text, something at work, something subtle. Immediately, your body reacts. You feel it, that tightening, that activation is there. And at the same time, you're aware. You can literally hear yourself thinking, okay, this is happening. This is my pattern. I know what this is. I've worked on this before. But the reaction is still there. After the moment, right? After you react, you try to let it go, you think about it, you replay it, you try to calm yourself down, and at some point you tell yourself, okay, I understand it now. I'm done with this. But the next time you're in that situation or something similar or a challenge, what happens? It happens again. You react again. And that is where it gets frustrating. You're not missing the awareness. You're very clear on what's happening, right? You know your pattern. You can see the loop while it's happening. But in the moment where it actually matters, right? When in the moment that you're in that situation, you still react the same way as before. The reason you're stuck in that loop is that you've been taught that knowing is the same as changing. And that is not true. It is not. In my Align framework, we move through 5 stages: awareness, liberation, integration, grounding and growth, and next level embodiment. But the gap where most women get lost is between awareness and integration. That's the gap that I see that people need a little bit more accountability to get past it. When you're mapping your patterns and understanding your why, you're using your prefrontal cortex, the logical thinking part of your brain. But your reactions do not come from your prefrontal cortex, friend. We know this. We spoke about it before in previous episodes, and you can look all of those episodes in the Neuroessentials category. Where do reactions come from? They come from your amygdala, the part of your brain that's responsible for your survival response, right? The fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So that means that you can understand something perfectly, right? Having the awareness and knowing all this perfectly, but your body still reacts the same way. Awareness comes too late to stop the reaction. You're trying to use logic, friend, to solve something that is biological. It's a biological reflex. You can understand your patterns perfectly. You can know exactly why you do what you do. But that doesn't stop your body from reacting the moment you're back in that challenge, in that situation, in that conversation. Because awareness comes too late to stop the reaction. By the time your mind catches up and says, Oh, you're fine. You've already reacted, exploded, snapped. You probably have to say sorry 10,000 times. And that is why just getting it, quote unquote, isn't enough. And that is why just getting it, quote unquote, isn't enough. You have to move from understanding the pattern to actually releasing the pattern. This is something that I always get reminded by Bashar because he makes it very simple, the explanation, even though it goes deeper than that. But he says, why you understand your pattern, it's no longer a pattern, it's a choice, right? Because you understand it already. And if you keep doing it, it's because you're choosing to do it. You have to move from understanding the pattern to actually releasing it. And that's what I mean when I talk about liberation or letting go, which is step 2 of my framework. True liberation is finally letting go of what no longer serves you. The old beliefs, the emotional baggage, and everything we have inherited. You know, all those inherited narratives you've been carrying for way too long. Now, I want to be real with you. This part of the process can be very emotional. It's not always a zen moment. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it feels like grief. But that release is exactly what's needed to move forward. You cannot carry the weight of who you were, right? That old identity into the life of who you are becoming or returning to, because I like to say returning to instead of becoming. But for the purpose of explanation and that you can see it clear, you cannot carry the weight of who you were into the life of who you are becoming. Liberation doesn't happen just because your mind understands the logic. It's physical, it's emotional, it's energetic. It's the physical act of dropping that pattern while you are still in the middle of the situation. Now, integration, which is what comes after we let go, is the part no one talks about because it's quiet. If you have spent years used to the constant urgency of fixing your life, integration can actually feel very boring. You've spent so long being on call for a problem that your body actually feels unsafe when things are good. But here's what truly is. Integration is where we bring that awareness and that release into alignment with your values, your desires, and the version of yourself you actually want to be. It is the moment you stop just not doing the old thing and you start stepping into the new identity that can actually respond differently. It's the process of teaching your system that peace is not a lack of movement, it's the presence of power. And let that land, and I will repeat it again. It's the process of teaching your system that peace isn't a lack of movement, it's the presence of power. Every time you stay in that quiet without creating a problem to fix, you are building new neural pathways. You are teaching your brain that quiet is safe. The reason your life isn't changing is because you've been trying to think your way into a new version of yourself. Your brain may understand the problem, but your body is the one that has to live the solution. You have to move through the physical release of liberation to get to the stability of integration. And I always use the analogy of a house with my clients, with my coaching clients, so they understand it clearly. Think about your life as a house, right? Most women spend all their energy on awareness, and this is like painting the walls or moving, like, I don't know, moving furniture, but they are building on sand. When you move through liberation, and integration, you are pouring the concrete, the foundation. That way, when a hurricane comes, and I use a hurricane because I live in Miami, and that's how I saw this example. If a hurricane comes, the house might shake, but it will not collapse. You stop living in a state of waiting for the chaos to catch up with you because you finally trust the ground you're standing on. You become unshakable. But here's the truth. And this is exactly why I tell my clients that you shouldn't. And honestly, you don't want to do this work alone. When you're in the middle of liberation and those old emotional narratives, old emotional wounds are surfacing, your brain is going to try to talk you back into what's familiar. And then when you hit integration and things get quiet and peaceful, which is what you wanted all along, your system is going to try to manufacture a crisis just to feel normal again. So we also have to be aware of what is happening here while we are moving and making this a normal thing in our lives. You need accountability, friend, not because you're not strong, but because you need someone who can see that pattern when you're too close to it to move. You need someone to remind you that the boring piece you're feeling is not a red flag. It's the concrete finally setting. I'm not here to give you more information. I'm here to make sure you actually complete the process so you don't end up back in the same loop 6 months from now, because you don't want that. You don't want to be in the same loop 6 months from now. And if you're ready to build that foundation you can actually trust, I would love to have you in the room on April 22nd for the Step into Alignment workshop. Alignment is often talked about as this big dramatic destination we're trying to reach. But the truth is, it's found in the quiet, specific moments you've been overlooking. It's about building the internal safety to stay in your center, even when the world around you is loud. On April 22nd, I'm hosting the Step into Alignment workshop. This is a 90-minute immersion where we move past the theory of neuroscience and spirituality and get tactical, and where I'm taking you through my Align framework. If you are ready to build a foundation you can actually trust in your real life, I would love to have you in the room. Space is limited because I want to keep this a true community container. You can grab your spot at the link in the show notes or head over to my Instagram at Michelle Marie Pacheco and DM me the word align. April 22nd, I would love to see you there. Beautiful soul, I want you to notice something after you finish this episode. Where in your life are you still calling it letting go, but you're still reacting the same way when it actually happens? Where do you understand the pattern, but you haven't actually experienced something different yet? Because that gap between knowing and living, that is the work. If something in this landed for you, I would love to hear. You know that I love your comments, your DMs, your emails, your replies. You can send me a message on Instagram or come inside our private Facebook community, Rewired to Align. Please do if you are not yet there. And share this episode with a woman who needs it, or just to reflect on it for yourself. But don't skip past it. Don't let this be another piece of information that you just collect and store away. Because the moment you start seeing this clearly, you stop thinking you need more information and you finally start realizing what actually needs to change. Okay, friend, I'm leaving, but just remember, understanding yourself isn't what changes your life. Completing the process is. letting go, and actually showing up differently, that's what creates alignment. I'm sending you so much love, and I cannot wait to see you inside the April workshop.